Welcome to GlobeTrotter. I'm Jon Haggins. I'm here to celebrate champagne, the beautiful grapes, the transition from grapes to wine. What else can you ask for? I am so excited to be here in this wonderful vineyard of Collet, and it is my honor because I'm standing with Olivier Chariard, and he is the best. He is the Chief Operating Officer, and he knows everything about champagne. He knows about the community. He knows about food. He's a god here. What else can I ask for?
No. We're humble servants to the cause of champagne.
The cause, that's a very interesting
Yes.
terminology. Well, it's a function of life in the community, you know, and the world, because everyone's drinking champagne.
I was recruited as managing director of the oldest cooperative of Champagne because of my knowledge and my experience, my career in the wines and spirits business in France and internationally.
So what does it really mean to you to be the general director of Collet?
It means a lot of hard work, but over and above, a lot of passion. I'm very passionate about the brand, and I'm very passionate about the history of this house that was founded in 1921.
The sun is out, the fog has disappeared, the grapes, you've picked already for the champagne.
That's right.
And what's wonderful in this region is to see it's hilly rather than flat, so it's a little different from other areas. And the roots go down to the water, which I think is fantastic, and you don't have to water the plants.
No, it's true, and that's especially a reason why we meant to enhance those vineyards, which the company owns, by allowing visitors to walk through them. It's very seldom when people visit the Champagne area that they actually walk into the vineyards. They tend to see houses of champagne, but they hardly see grapes. And to me, it's like going to Paris and shopping at the Galerie Lafayette and not climbing the Eiffel Tower. You know, you miss something.
Exactly.
And that's why we decided that it was very important to add this particular side of the process to the visit.
And I think what's wonderful is the fact that you have a museum which explains the history of champagne making.
Yes, we actually have three entities within the Cite du Champagne. One is this museum. It's a wonderful collection of old tools that have been used over the years to elaborate champagne. Champagne is all about craftsmanship. It's especially in this house, which belongs to the wine growers themselves. It's really a question of producing a luxury product through the skills and the know-how and the hand-driven tools. And this collection reflects this know-how, the various trades of the champagne elaboration.
How many wine growers are there in this area?
Over 800 wine growers who are the shareholders of the company and who are all dedicated to producing Champagne Collet in the best quality possible. The Champagne area is 33,000 hectares. You could almost say that it's 1 hectare per wine grower, almost. It's like a garden. Each has a garden of 1 hectare. Of course, it's an average. But in essence, it has always, because it's handmade, it requires a dedicated attention. It requires a quality of the work in the vineyards, which don't allow for huge surfaces unless you have a very large family and numerous employees.
But you're one of the largest, I believe, in this community.
Oh, indeed, indeed.
You produce a very fine champagne.
We work hard for this, but we're proud of what we produce because in the end it's for the pleasure of the consumer, but it's also a great satisfaction for all of us to feel that we've accomplished a good work. I think one has to be demanding with himself or herself when one works in such an artistic almost industry. Champagne is a symbol of a certain art de vivre, of a certain French touch, and certainly has contributed to the history of France through diplomacy, through the kings, through the Tsar in Russia. Champagne has always been the perfect companion of important events, important celebrations.
How many wine growers are there in the community?
There are around 30,000 wine growers in the appellation, which means that each exploitation is not very huge, because of course this is all hand-picked. It's made with a lot of care, and one would not be able to exploit more than a certain area, if you will. Of course there are bigger ones and smaller ones, but overall, on average, it's about 1 hectare per wine grower.
You know what I think is also interesting is that here champagne is a drink you have all the time, as opposed to a celebration that most Americans think of, a wedding or Christmas or New Year's. And here you drink it in the morning, you drink it in the middle of the day, you drink it in the evening. You celebrate life.
Absolutely. It's a series of micro celebrations. And although champagne is an exclusive drink, and you're right, special occasions, but hey, there are lots of small special occasions. It doesn't mean to need to be an anniversary or a birthday. It can be, you know, the small celebrations of life. That's what life is all about. That's what champagne is all about.
Viva France! Chasing Wild Ass. Oh, it's not what you're thinking. It's a narrative of my travel around the world. I have interspersed photos and aromatic recipes, which allows you to dream, discover, and rediscover these great destinations around the world. The title of the book came about while we were chasing jackasses in Kutch Wild Ass Sanctuary in Gujarat, India. And I thought that was a great title for the book. This is food for the soul. Not only does it allow you to dream, it's adventure, it's history, it's culinary, it's culture, with a sense of humor to spice it up. Chasing Wild Ass is a celebration of life. You have to live each day as if it's your last. Remember, my world is your world, so get up, get out, and travel! Olivier, we have been pairing the champagne with these traditional dishes from the region. Talk about that as an experience.
Well, champagne is bubbles and is wine. Bubbles for celebration, the opening of the bottle, the symbol, the ceremony, the ritual that goes with it. But it's also wine. It should be appreciated with a meal. And there are varieties of champagnes that suit very well certain kinds of dishes. A Blanc de Blanc, for instance, is perfect on a fish or on seafood. A Blanc de Noir would be more appropriate for white meat. A dry rosé would be perfect, ideal even, for a strawberry cake, for instance. So there are many combinations, and even a non-vintage brut is very relevant for various kinds of dishes. The taste experience is indeed quite important, and we are proud of the quality of our champagnes, and that's why we've initiated a new prize in the world of gastronomy with chefs. You know that chefs tend to write books about themselves, about their recipes, about their experience, and we decided 5 years ago to create a Champagne Collet prize, so the best book written by a chef. And we are getting close to the end of the 5th season, which means 50 dinners with very prestigious chefs, and they have honored us by selecting our cuvées to match with the recipes that they describe in their books. And I have to say that this has contributed in our modest way to spreading the culture of eating and enjoying champagne at the same time.
Are they national chefs or international chefs?
Both. We have initiated this prize in France, but we also have a similar kind of exercise with chefs in Japan, for instance. And I'm sure we will be thinking of new ideas for the US market.
This is a great education. I'm sure that everyone, our audience, certainly will enjoy the experience because now they'll be drinking champagne all day and all night. Welcome to GlobeTrotter. I'm Jon Haggins. I'm sitting here at Collet, and this is one of the best champagne makers in the world. It's where the bubbles warm your heart. I'm sitting with Sebastian Wozniak, and he is the chief of the cave. And what do you do as the chief of the cave?
At the beginning of the vinification, when we press the wine, when we press the juice, until we put in a bottle, we put some different cru, we call village, and I put some different grape varieties. If it's not vintage, we can put some different years in a blend.
And where do you get the different years from? You take it from another bottle, or you take it from another vat? Or?
We take with different vat. You know, usually we have about half harvest. We have different years in the tanks.
And you mix them together.
And we mixed in a blend.
So it really is a science when you think about it, because you know you're making up this incredible ingredient, this great wine. So it really is a science of putting it all together and knowing when to have it come to fruition.
Each blend, each cuvée has a style, and we try to have the same style every year. For example, the last one we do last year. Of course, it's not tried the first time, we try different things, and sometimes for blend we have 4, 5, 6, 7, or 10 tries before to decide to put in a bottle.
And the cave also has a temperature, maintains a temperature, so therefore it helps to preserve the wines.
We try to have about 12 to 15 degrees in a cave all the time, because it's better to conserve the wine in the caves.
That is so wonderful. You know, this is a result of what happens in the end at a cave, and we're going to share this right now. The bubbles, the bubbles, the bubbles, the bubbles, the bubbles. My God. You know, bubbles are what champagne's about, is what Brut is about. And if you don't have bubbles, you have no celebration. Am I right?
Yeah, you are right.
Sebastian, tell me, what kind of grapes do you use to make champagne?
You can find in Champagne 3 different grape varieties. You have Chardonnay, white grape variety, and you can taste with in appetizer or with seafood. Usually it's very fresh wine, a lot of acidity, elegant wine.
And it's very light, so it makes sense to go with seafood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have also, we call Pinot Noir.
But what's interesting about that is I would think that you would need a white grape in order to make champagne, but you're saying that it could be a red grape to make champagne.
You can have black or white grapes, but you don't have the color. Because inside the grape, we call pulp, the juice is white juice.
Yeah, it's just the shell that's the color, right.
You have, with this kind of wine, you have soft wine, and usually tropical fruits.
Right, so it's very subtle in terms of, as you said, with fruit, which you can, you know, it's like taking, as an example, taking this glass and the nose. Yeah, everybody's got to have a nose. And let me taste. Hey, let's toast, actually. Wow, love that sound. Oh, it's very light and fruity.
Fruity.
Yeah.
Very long mouth, not too much, but very elegant wine and very delicate wine. And we try to have some fresh wine.
I think it's wonderful. You know, like the color on this Brut is just absolutely, the color is very feminine to me, you know, and champagne seems to be like a feminine thing, although everybody drinks it, you know, but I think of champagne as being feminine, as opposed to drinking just straight wine, you know, like Bordeaux or something. Somehow it just feels feminine.
Yeah, we try to have some different flavors with very good balance and very delicate and not.
And what I've noticed here is that your valley or your country is basically the Champagne is hilly compared to other areas, which I guess that's good for the ripening of the grapes. Is that right?
We call it a mountain, but it's not a mountain, but It's not in the.
It's a hill.
It's not far. It's not. Yeah, it's a hill. It's the best one if you want to do a special cuvée on vintage. Usually, we call terroir in the middle of the hill.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about, because from the area here, which is north of France, compared to, for instance, southern France, you have different terroirs. So therefore, you would have that's a reason for growing your particular crop as opposed to their crop.
Yeah, we have about 320 different crus, we call villages. All of these are different because you have in 3 different regions of Champagne, and you have different climates, weather, and you have different soil. And of course, you have different wine.
Sebastian, is it true that Champagne is only, the name can only be used in France as opposed to other countries? And there's a whole region that has just Champagne.
Yes, just in Champagne, because we are lucky in France. We have an area we can produce a good quality of wine with bubble. We call Champagne, and in Champagne Collet we have a lot of wine growers. Some of them produce very high, good quality wine, and I try to put in a special tank. I do special vinification, and we try to have a very good blend. Sometimes with vintage.
But it's limited.
It's limited, and there's very few production, and we put in a bottles in a small quantity, and we try to put this kind of small production in this kind of bottle to explain that we call savoir-faire.
Sebastian, how long does it take to come to this final stage? Is it months? Is it years? How long is it?
In fact, we wait when it's good for the wine. Usually for the Brut, we wait about 3 years after to put in a bottle, 4 years for Art Deco, and for all the wines like Blanc de Blanc, we wait 5 or 6 years, or Rosé, and we wait sometimes 8 or 10 years for the vintage. And we try to continue this kind of business.
And you're the best. Cheers.
Cheers.
In this building, it's fully dedicated to the history of Champagne, the history of the appellation, and the history of the company. In each room, we are going to consider a decade or two. So this room is dedicated from the 1900 to 1920. So on the left-hand side, you start with 1900, and on the right-hand side, we are going to finish with 1920, and the creation of the company Cogevi, and the creation of Raoul Collet, the brand. Okay. What is very important to us is after the First World War, Reims and the area was completely destroyed, and the rebuilding of the city of Reims was made by American architects from the 1920, 21 and 22. And it was the Art Deco period, what you call the Roaring Twenties. So you will see that most of this building and building in Reims are inspired by the Art Deco style. So we did capitalize on this when we wanted to relaunch the brand 4 years ago, and we changed the label of the brand, and it's all based on being inspired by the Art Deco style. Okay, so First World War was important for this area because we are in the heart of the war. So we are going to visit an exhibition, a temporary exhibition at the Villa Collet, fully dedicated to this war. Okay, and you've seen some photos and in the film, some pictures, which shows that AI was in the heart of this fight, and most of the buildings were destroyed. And if you consider the street and the building, you can see they are all here, and the next street, Boulevard du Nord, that we are going to visit as well. So this room is dedicated to the 30s, 40s, and beginning of the 50s. It used to be the meeting room for the board of Cogevi. And now it's fully dedicated to all the brands we created and produced 30 years ago, and all the awards, all the recognition, international recognition we got for international wine tasting competition. On your right-hand side, there's a small poster and wordings about Mr. Raoul Collet. So Mr. Raoul Collet has been running the company up to 1958. He was a negociant at first. He joined the company, and because he was successful with selling his own brand, Raoul Collet, he gave the brand to the company, or he sold the brand to the company. And he's been running the company up to 1958. So we've won a track record of only 6 presidents and 6 managing directors during the last 96 years. So it has been always a very stable president, managing director working together. So most of them have been staying for long. And this stability helped to improve the Cogevi, and so we've been building more and more. You'll see the new factory later on this afternoon and the one tomorrow. And we've been growing and expanding on a very regular basis. This part is the one that the growers, when they come and visit us, prefer, because they can recognize most of the guys which are on the photos, you know. Mm-hmm. So this is the second factory based in Auger on the Côte des Blancs. This is where we're going tomorrow. It has been built in 2004, so it's a very modern facility.
When was it built?
2004.
Okay, it's just 5 years now.
Yeah, but inauguration was before. The harvest 2004 already was the first harvest they made with Fantastic. This facility. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And in fact, you've got 4 different stages for this factory, and the last one was inaugurated in 2012. Because they pushed the building away each time. You know? And in fact, we did exactly what they did in the 20s and 30s. When you see all these gold medal and all these recognition they got, we've got the same kind of rewards this year. We recently got a very good 97 out of 100 grade for the Brut non-vintage at the San Francisco Wine Competition in June. And we've been best in nation for France for the 2 consecutive years, last 2. So we are quite proud of what Sebastian is delivering to us. Okay, so now we're going to see 2 more rooms which are rather tiny, from the 60s, 70s, 80s up to 2000. And you'll see these years were the years of construction of the company and the first years of advertising. So in the 80s, 90s, we had some funny posters and advertising, and it was even on the French radio. At that time, you could promote wine, spirit, and alcohol.
We're toasting and dining on fresh seafood, vegetables, in Collet Chateau. And please don't let me forget the delicious desserts. You know, let's talk about the fact that champagne is champagne, and you can't compare it with other sparkling wines.
That's the whole purpose of the visit here. For tourists to come and understand the very process of the champagne elaboration, what makes it so particular, so costly, because it starts with the work in the vineyards, hand picking, and it goes down to shipping in beautiful bottles. But it's not only a wine of celebration, you know. Life is made of micro celebrations. But it's a wine that is particular, and there's no other champagne than in Champagne.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
The Notre Dame Church has a Gothic interior. This is an absolutely beautiful cathedral. Châtillon-sur-Marne is the highest point in Champagne country. The morning fog hovers over the village, then rises for the best view. My new friends and I gathered at this picnic, not only to enjoy the dishes, but also to look up at Pope Urban's statue on top of Marne Hill.
Très joli, très joli.
This is a perfect morning for a picnic with all local products. The fog is finally lifted. What a fabulous view of the village. I can't begin to tell you what it's like being here in France and having these wonderful champagnes, different years, different tastes, and pairing them with great food like cheese, foie gras, and just everything that we eat here is fabulous. It's living. This is living. What a wonderful chateau. There's chateaus everywhere. This is an incredible, incredible sight. Our chef shows off fresh fish before preparing it for lunch. And the lunch included soup, fish, apple dessert, and of course, ice cream. I've had the most incredible experience here throughout the Champagne region, and the people here have such passion for what they do. You know, they're like artists, you know. It's an amazing experience. The terroir changes from one area to another. There's so many wonderful, friendly family growers, and what could be better than this? You can come and experience for yourself the whole harvesting and all the aspects of it, and the museums and so forth. I love it. Remember, my world is your world. So get up, get out, and travel. I hope you had as much fun as I did. This was a super education on Champagne. Look forward to seeing you next week at another colorful destination. So long for now.